Hi, hello, what's up, you guys? And welcome back to another episode of The Tony Show. As you guys can see by the title below, we're going to be talking about your self esteem and why the world needs it to be low. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. So, let me start off by saying
that low self-esteem is something that I think we'll all experience at some point in our lives, but staying there is not something that you have to do. You can get therapy, you can listen to affirmations, you can watch TED Talks. All these things can contribute to your self-esteem.
So, let's go ahead and get into why your self-esteem needs to be low in order for most of the world to even deal with you. Okay, so when your self-esteem is low, you are easily controllable.
Let me say that again. When your self-esteem is low, you are easily controllable.
And when you are easily controllable, people can pretty much puppet string you. So you have to ask yourself why you're so easily controllable. Why small things can trigger you so much.
A trigger is basically an old pent-up trauma or neglect. And a lot of times, triggered is associated with something that's negative, but the truth is a trigger is just a friendly reminder that something needs to be fixed or it needs to be looked at.
One of the things that can help you not be so easily triggered is setting healthy boundaries with yourself, with other people.
Whether you're at work, whether this is a love interest, or whether this is, business relationships, and even your family.
Healthy boundaries are essential, and without healthy boundaries, you basically make yourself accessible to everything and everyone.
And when you make yourself that accessible to other people, you start taking on everybody else's energy.
So if you're accessible to angry people, or if you're easily accessible to jealous people or depressed people, then at this point you're taking on those energies, and that's not really something that you want to do.
I know that we love people, and sometimes it can be hard watching someone go through depression or anxiety or self-doubt and worry, but unless you are a trained therapist or a life coach, that is not your job to take on. The most you can do is love people and lead by example.
That brings me into owning your desires, your needs, and your wants.
Okay, so I think this is something that we all tend to struggle with because as society, we are extremely judgmental. And it doesn't really make sense because if you consider the fact that we're all individuals, we're going to clearly like different things, we're going to have different desires and different wants. So
when you're owning your desires, your needs, and your wants, you're not lying to people.
And we all know that lying to people, it's negative and you have to keep up with the lies. That's just a whole different rabbit hole. But when you're owning these things about yourself, it's easier for you to put boundaries between people.
For example, you have a desire to be a mom of 5. And I know that's like a random number, but and the person that you're dating does not have the desire to have children at all.
A healthy boundary would look like understanding that this is not going to be a lifelong partner. Maybe this is just like, a fun experience. And also owning that would mean not trying to make this person change their desires because it does not match yours and you want to be with them. Because when you try to change people or the things that they want out of life, usually that just ends up in resentment.
Even if someone does initially follow along with you, they will later end up resenting you for not allowing them to be themselves and show up in life the way that they would like to show up.
I'm kind of jumping around a little bit here, but I hope you guys can follow what I'm saying.
One of the main traits that you'll see with people who do not own their desires are people that are extremely passive and people that are people pleasers.
So let me start off with being passive.
Some people will not straight up say that they don't like something about you or they don't like the way that you move or you're offending them in some kind of way. So they won't directly say it to you, but they'll do like underhanded things. Like they might say something that hurts your feelings, or they might do something that they'll do something that they know that you don't like, because instead of being an adult and saying that, hey, I don't like this, I felt disrespected, and however they felt when you did what you did that they did not like, they won't do that. So they'll find a way to get back at you, and
that's another rabbit hole in itself again. But that is another trait of not owning your wants, needs, and desires.
Another thing would be people pleasing. So
people pleasers are people who basically lack identity. It's like you go along with anything that someone says.
let's just say you hate You hate Chinese food.
And you're on a date with someone and they're like, oh, I want some Chinese food. Chinese food is my favorite. And you know in the back of your mind, it's like, oh, I hate Chinese food. Like, whatever. You just don't deal with it. But some people are so much of a people pleaser that they'll sit there and eat Chinese food knowing that they don't really like it. And I know that sounds crazy and that's such a small example. But when I tell you guys, this is very real. Some people have the desire to be needed and want it so bad that they'll completely erase their identity just to fit yours, just so that you'll like them, just so you'll be around them. And that is a very slippery slope because it may be flattering at first, someone wanting to do all the things that you do or the things that you like, but what will happen is resentment will show up and it will grow over time. And do we really need to go into what happens when someone resents you? Like, I think we've all kind of been there with someone who didn't like us, and resentment is just like a deeper version of dislike. It's a very strong, deep version of dislike, and we all know what that is like.
Another thing that I like to say is when your self-esteem is low and you tend to be a passive person or a people pleaser, this ultimately leads to self-destruction and unnecessary and excessive judgment of other people.
So what I mean by that is when you can't own who you are, you have a very hard time with people owning who they are, because one thing that I lived through experience is that when you are showing up in a way that you want to show up and you are doing it unapologetically and someone cannot do that for themselves, they nitpick, they're very underhanded, they're extremely judgmental, or they're just a flat out hater. Because
human emotions are something that none of us are above it. So it's like you can't outrun happy, you can't outrun sad, you can't outrun any of this stuff. You just have to deal with it head on.
So you guys, I basically say all that to say, show up and be the best version of yourself, and don't let anyone try to make you feel bad about it. We're all different. We're all gonna like different things, different people, different activities, different foods.
And no one is above you. We are all God's children. We are all humans. We all have blood running through our veins. So never allow someone to sit high and look low on you, because, as I like to say, that we all have a chapter that we don't read out loud.
And instead of like getting down or vibrating lower on someone else's level and doing like a tit for tat thing, like, well, she said this about me, or she said my hair wasn't done, so I'm gonna call her out for her bad kids. It's like, don't even go there with people, because the truth is, people who even move in this way are already miserable. They are already miserable people. Their life is their punishment. I mean, I hate to be so harsh, but that is the truth. So you don't even need to deal with them. Like, life is dealing with them. They need to deal with themselves so they can leave you alone. But that's another story. So I want to give you guys an example of what it looks like when you are being mean to yourself and you're not accepting of yourself. Okay. So imagine saying all the hurtful things that you say to yourself, saying it to a loved one. So imagine saying to your mom, like, you still really need to lose a couple of pounds, or your idea doesn't have any value. Like, why would anyone listen to that? Like, that's a stupid idea. Now imagine saying something like that to yourself, right? So if you wouldn't tell your mom, like, you need to lose a couple of pounds, or if you wouldn't tell like your friends or a sister that their idea is stupid and no one would listen to them, don't do it to yourself.
I know that negative self-talk I think it's kind of easy to do in the climate that we're in. It's a lot easier to put yourself down to uplift yourself, because that's what a lot of people are doing anyway. But I would just encourage you to be as nice and gracious and kind to yourself as you possibly can, so that you can extend that to other people, right?
So going back to the original message about your self-esteem and why the world needs it to be low.
When your self-esteem is low, jobs can lowball you in how much they decide to pay you. People in relationships will not show up for you in the ways that you want them to show up. Family members will continue to, disrespect you, or, again, not treat you in the way that you feel like you should be treated, all because you allow it. You see what I'm saying? There are some people in this world that we all have a certain level of respect for.
And these people are not easily controllable. Another trait of one of these people is owning their needs and their desires. And finally, like I was saying, having boundaries with people. You guys, I know I'm a little bit all over the place. Today is Monday. I know this is Motivational Monday, but you guys, this is Monday for me too.
I just want to wrap up this video by saying that there's nothing wrong with who you are as a person. Get around people that love you and value you, and share the same interest in you. So you don't have to walk around hiding yourself or overly explaining your love language. The people that want to be there for you, they're not even going to treat you like that. So that's a telltale sign.
You feel like you can never be yourself around people, those people probably don't like you. And that's what you're hiding. You're hiding the real you because you know that they won't like you.
I really hope that you guys enjoyed this message. I am super excited because last week was the first week that I finished this YouTube series where I do the Motivational Mondays, the Waistline Wednesdays, and the Fabulous Fridays. Well, last Friday was Unfabulous. If you watched it, it was my hair appointment from hell, and that was a very real thing. I love you guys, and I will see you again on Wednesday for Waistline Wednesdays. And thank you so much for tuning into this video. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss anything that I put out. Again, I love you, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.